Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, guys. I got to tell you, the dim revolt is what's keeping the Republican Party afloat. What do I mean by that? Or where's the Republican Party? Seriously, where's the Republican Party? There's always some great people inside of Congress, and whether it's the upper chamber or the lower chamber. But for the most part, where's the Republican Party? We do have some good news on tariffs, some deals that have been breaking. I think good news for the Republican Party is that the Democratic revolt is on full blast. Well, I'm going to talk to you about the Carville, David Hogg civil war that's brewing within the Democrat Party, how Bernie Sanders is a complete and utter con artist. We're going to be getting to all of that and more, but I also want to talk to you about some video clips that are out there, some news that's out there as well. Keep you up to speed to what's happening with Iran. That was something that occurred earlier. Also, Russia, Ukraine. I do want to make mention of all of these things, but first I want to do this. This is just me being this is Michelle Obama. All right. All right. So I've heard this clip. You've heard this clip, I'm sure, throughout the day, perhaps even yesterday. But if we could go to clip number 56, Gabe, former First Lady Michelle Obama basically said that Black women don't always speak up about their pain. I want to comment on that before we move on to this Democratic revolt. And guys, I gotta tell you, I am so thankful for the Democratic revolt because were it not for the Democratic revolt, I don't think I don't know. Is God is my witness. I really don't know what Republicans are doing right now. This makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I understand that everything can't be done as quickly as I'd like it done. But guys, I got to tell you, the first 100 days of a presidency are very crucial. Trump understood that coming in. All right, but let me get this out of the way. The former first lady, let me go ahead and tackle that. Video clip number 56, Por favor, Gabe. This is Michelle Obama.
We don't articulate as
Nope.
Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission to do that.
And does anyone care?
Yeah, there's
Will
that.
they care?
There's
If
that
we
part.
knew, I think we would care. If we knew.
Mm-hmm.
If we knew.
Or, yeah, and we have to ask ourselves, the men in our lives is, why wait to be asked? It seems like what we go through is pretty obvious. I mean, maybe we're not complaining, but we're actually living life out loud,
Mm-hmm.
What? Michelle Obama says Black women don't always speak up about their pain. Gabe, is it just me? Or do they speak up too damn much? I mean, it's absolutely insane. That's crazy. That's crazy. See, this is the problem. And honestly, this ties into the Democrat revolt, the fight that you see being played out between David Hogg, that numbskull, and James Carville. This is complete and utter insanity by the left. These people feel completely entitled. You could never I want you to understand this. You can never satisfy the left. You can never satisfy them. They are used to being victims. This lady, before she became the first lady of the United States of America, the very first black first lady of the United States of America, she and her husband were doing pretty doggone good for themselves. They both were making six-figure salaries and well into the six-figure salaries. If I'm not mistaken, she was making over 300 grand before she became the first lady. And the same was true with Barack Obama before he decided to become a community organizer. Now they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if I'm not mistaken. They've got a mansion in Washington. They've got a mansion in Hawaii. And they've got two other mansions somewhere else. I can't even keep a hold of all of their mansions. But people don't feel your pain. Maybe people feel it too doggone much or hear it too doggone much. These are people that want to be victims. As long as leaders like this in the Black community exist, the Black community will not be able to heal. As long as someone is telling you a victim, I don't need to hear that you're a victim, Michelle Obama. I don't need to hear that you need to speak up about your pain. You know what I'd like to hear from you, Michelle Obama? How'd you get where you got? How did you make it? How did you become one of the top 1/10 of 1%ers inside of the United States of America? Who the heck is ignoring black women when they yap and run their mouths all the freaking time? Look at the ladies in Congress. Ayanna Pressley, AOC, Jasmine Crockett. Nobody's feeling your pain. I don't even know what your pain is. What is your pain? Too rich? People don't sympathize with you enough? What is it? This insanity has got to stop. It's got to stop. This is not productive. This isn't helpful for the black community. This isn't helpful for women. Getting on a podcast whining. Man, I'm so glad. I'm so glad they are out of office. But the damage they've done to this country, and they believe it. She believes it. I honestly believe that Barack Obama, when he was in office, I legitimately believe that this was a guy trying to find an identity or trying to create an identity using politics. I believe he was fake. I believe he was insecure. I believe this was a guy that needed politics. I mean, some of the stuff that we've read about him in the past, his homosexual experiences, desires, so on, etc. The way he struggled, dreams from my father. Obviously, his father not being around. He's half black. He's half white. There's a lot of insecurities that this man had. She's just a social justice warrior. It's just astonishing to me. It really is. But this is the Democrat Party. A lot of people are wondering, hey, what's up with this David Hogg guy? I mean, him and James Carville are going back and forth, throwing barbs at each other. It's not helpful to the Democrat Party. It's not helpful at all. But it's helpful to the Republican Party because so far we've done nothing. They're still talking about, I mean, literally, you have the Democrat Party that's still talking about this guy, Garcia, this MS-13 wife beater, this human trafficker, this guy that literally, when he was pulled over, I think he was taking a trip from Texas to Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, pulled over in Tennessee. Come to find out that the vehicle that he was driving belonged to his boss, who was jailed for human trafficking, for human smuggling. You don't think Garcia was that? That's their champion. These are these are the champions of the Democrat Party. This is absolutely insane to me. But I'm thankful for this because otherwise, to some extent, if they weren't talking about this, they would be talking about the tariffs. They would be talking about the economy. This is one area where people are starting to feel when it comes to the Trump to the Trump presidency, to the Trump administration. They're starting to sour just a little bit. Now, here's the good news. I don't think it'll last long. I think these deals are starting to be done. That's great news for the Trump administration. I think the economy is going to come roaring back. The problem is I'd like to see the Democrats. I mean, I'd like to see the Republicans actually have his back. I'd like to see some permanent tax cuts. I'd like to see them now. Americans need relief. And what are you guys waiting on? This makes no sense to me. I do want to play. Here's some good news. This occurred earlier. This is Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent. And by the way, please keep him on the forefront when we're talking about the economy. This guy makes things better. He has a calm about his voice, and he knows what he's speaking of. Gabe, let's play video clip number 53. This is Secretary of State Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent calming the markets and taking on China. Cut number 53. Por favor, Gabe.
China, in particular, is in need of a rebalancing. Recent data shows the Chinese economy tilting even further away from consumption toward manufacturing. China's economic system, with growth driven by manufacturing exports, will continue to create even more serious imbalances with its trading partners if the status quo is allowed to continue. China's current economic model is built on exporting its way out of its economic troubles. It's an unsustainable model that is not only harming China, but the entire world. China needs to change. The country knows it needs to change. Everyone knows it needs to change, and we want to help it change because we need rebalancing too. China can start by moving its economy away from export overcapacity and towards supporting its own consumers and domestic demand. Such a shift would help with global rebalancing that the world desperately needs.
Okay, that's Scott Bessent. This is the guy that needs to be out in front of the camera every single time we're talking about the Trump economy. I'm sorry, but he just brings a calm and a stability to the markets and to the consumers, to the voters, that I think is warranted, that I think needs to be heard. The fact that China is overextended on exporting is going to hurt them. They need the United States. The market is doing better every time this guy speaks, and Trump comes out and says, listen, we're not firing Jerome Powell. The market calms down. This is good. All right, we'll be back. Carl Jackson, we'll be back in a few. Hey, guys, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. I do want to talk to you about MyPillow. And also, please follow me on all things social media, X, Instagram, Facebook, at Carl Jackson Show, at The Carl Jackson Show. Guys, MyPillow is excited to announce that they are extending the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. This is your chance to grab incredible deals on some of MyPillow's most popular and newly released items. So right now you can save $40 on the new spring MyPillow bed sheets. They're available in any size and any color. These luxurious sheets are designed for maximum comfort and breathability. They're perfect for a great night's sleep, so you won't get all icky and sweaty. All right, if you're looking for a meaningful gift, you can also save 30% on the brand new My Crosses. They're inspired by the one that Mike Lindell has worn every day for over 20 years. These beautifully crafted crosses come in both men's and women's designs, and they're also made in the US of A. So you can get the 6-piece bath kitchen towel sets, for just $39.98. The initial quantities are extremely limited, so don't wait, guys. You will love the bath towels. These are the best bath towels ever. They're actually thick. They actually dry you. I absolutely love them. And don't forget the best-selling standard MyPillow, now just $17.98, plus orders over $75 shipped for free. Okay, so let's get back to the programming. Welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show on the Salem Podcast Network, YouTube, and Rumble as well. All right, guys. So listen, I believe that the Democrat revolt is keeping the Republican Party afloat, because seriously, the first 100 days are so crucial. Trump came out with just came out swinging, and the left they couldn't take it. They still haven't quite gotten their footing. The issue is, where's the Republican Party? Where's the Republican Party? It's time for these people to show up. It's time for these people to show up. Instead, thank God, Democrats are still distracted by Garcia. They're really doubling down on this Garcia guy. I don't believe that they understand the depths of their woes. I'm going to give you these are some stats, and then I want to talk to you about an article that Joe Concha wrote for the Washington Examiner. I'm going to have to go through it the best I can. I tried to print it out earlier, was unable to do so, but I do want to bring some points up because you have James Carville, the old school Democrat strategist, worked for Bill Clinton. He and David Hogg are changing barbs. I'm not sure if David Hogg is going to last as the vice chair. You got the chair of the DNC coming out and basically scolding David Hogg and warning him, hey, listen, as a vice chair with an administrative role, I mean, you can't go out and endorse. You can't go out and participate in primaries where you're actually funding primaries in this way. These primaries have to be open. People have to scrap it out. But see, here's what they don't get about David Hogg. Here's what they don't understand. He has the same mentality as Michelle Obama. There's a sense of entitlement. See, David Hogg, we need the youth. We need younger voters. We need younger voters or younger congressmen and congresswomen in order to attract younger voters. No, you need smart congressmen. You need smart congresswomen. You need people that are effective. You need people that know what they're doing. The Democrat Party, their bench is cleared. Their bench is cleared. They really have no one. Let me talk to you about this Free Beacon article. Listen to this. It's entitled "Revolt: Dem voters turning on their leaders in record numbers, according to polls. And I'll share with you a video momentarily. Chuck Schumer. I mean, right now, I told you before, if it were up to the Democrat Party today, Chuck Schumer would be going down in flames. He is not looking good. His polls are not looking good at all. And so I think we have that video somewhere as I scroll here. I believe I looked at it earlier. Yes, we do. If you will get cut number 61 ready, Gabe. I won't go there quite yet, but I do want that to be ready. All right. So this, according to Political, the Democratic voters are basically on what they call on the verge of a Tea Party style intra-party revolt. So for those of you, listen, the Tea Party is kind of where I came into the fold. I got active into local politics at the time during the Tea Party. Barack Obama had come into office. I was already nervous about the spending from the Republican Party. Barack Obama gets in office, and then he starts spending money like crazy, and then Obamacare and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, this is absolutely insane. This is crazy. So that's when I really got involved politically. And I was like, what is the Republican Party doing? What are they up to? How come they're not stopping this stuff? How come they're not stopping the spending? I remember the guy, I forget his name. I think he's still on television today. Stop the spending. I mean, he went nuts. And that was kind of the clarion call back in the day for the Tea Party. And I remember just, man, that was it. I did not want to see my country going down. I didn't want to see my country going down in flames. And it felt like it was headed there. And there was a bunch of rhino Republicans, much of which still exist today. Even some of those people that were Tea Partiers, if you will, that have turned out to be major squishes. And then it's just the way that it is, whether it's a state capital, whether it's Washington, D.C., there's a lot of rhinos that exist. But Political says that type of revolt, the same type of revolt that I witnessed, that I was a part of, quite frankly, when it came to the establishment and the Tea Party movement early on, that's what the Democrat Party is experiencing right now. And this is against their party leaders. Only 40% of Democrats now approve of the Democratic members in Congress. Only 40% of Democrats. Guys, this is huge news. And it goes on further to explain. 49% disapprove. So you have 40% of Democrats that now approve of Democratic members of Congress. All right. 49% that disapprove. Now, this is different because typically you might see a poll where people are asked, hey, do you like Congress? And it's like, no. Like, Congress always has a really low approval rating. It'll be under 10 sometimes. It'll be just absolutely insane. Sometimes it may be 12, 14, you know what I mean? But it'll always be low. But and then you ask an individual if they like their congressman, if they know him or her, and they're like, oh yeah, I mean, they're okay. They're okay. You know, if they know them. You know what I mean? So the polling is never as low once you actually see these people. But this is why this is so dangerous. So only 40% of Democrats approve of the Democratic members of Congress, 49% disapprove. This is the first time that congressional Democrats have fallen underwater with their own voters. This, according to the Quinnipiac University poll. A year ago, listen to this, 75% of Democrats rated their leaders favorably, while just 21% expressed disapproval. That's why you see all the uproar, at least amongst the base for AOC. Let's play clip number 61. Chuck Schumer appears to be in trouble with his Democrat Party. Clip number 61, por favor, Gabe.
New York Democrats on Chuck Schumer view him favorably. In December of 2024, that was just a few months ago, it was 73%. Look at where that number has fallen to in just a few months. It is now down to just 52%. That is the lowest I could ever find in Siena College on how Democrats in Chuck Schumer's home state view him. And keep in mind, if you're thinking about a primary challenge, it would be a few years away. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's favorable rating among Democrats is considerably higher, in the 60s. So he is doing quite poorly in his own home state of New York. I never thought I'd see the day in which just 52% of New York Democrats would view Chuck Schumer favorably. It's almost unfathomable.
Yeah, the footnote, the tiny footnote here, I think it will look much bigger to the Schumer team this morning as they look at that. When you're talking about Chuck Schumer, why? Is there an answer to your question? Is there an answer to the question of why his ratings dropped?
Yeah, it's because they simply don't like the job he's doing as Senate leader. I mean, look at this. Should Schumer stay as Senate leader? Again, according to New York Democrats, just 50% say yes. Look at this number. 48% say no. This screams sirens should be going off. Primary challenge, primary challenge, primary challenge. When you're a Democrat in New York and these are your ratings, this is a big wake-up call if you're Chuck Schumer, John Berman.
Harry Etten, thank you very much.
All right, so that's the word on Chuck U. Schumer. And remember what I told you last night. How did Chuck U. Schumer get here? Chuck U. Schumer was dumb enough to try to capitulate to the left, and now he's being eaten by the left. If you live by the rules of the left, you get eaten by the left. I mean, that's just the way that it is. He should have been the adult in the room. You know, I don't think I posted this out on Twitter. I got to do it. On X is what it's called now. But I posted this out on, and I think I spoke about this yesterday, but I put it out on Facebook, how liberals just don't grow up. See, Chuck U. Schumer is supposed to be the adult. But now that he's acting like one of the entitled leftists, he's going to lose because that's not his lane. That's AOC's lane. That's David Hogg's lane. That's not his lane. It's crazy. He screwed himself. That's what he gets. Democrats are still struggling to find their footing after the election beat down that they took in November. And Chuck U. Schumer, in part, is to blame for that. We'll get into some of the things that David Hogg is saying and that back and forth. But listen to this. The infighting comes as Democrats who lost the White House and both chambers of Congress struggle to regain their footing. All right. Recent polls from CNN and NBC News, you guys may remember these polls, show that the party's favorability has plunged to record lows of 29% and 27% respectively. And also, it's going to be an uphill battle for Democrats to win the Senate or to take back the Senate in the midterm elections. I don't think it's going to happen. Frankly, if Republicans would get off their keisters, remember that in Home Alone, if they would get off ther keisters and freaking get a bill done with some tax cuts, permanent, some deregulation, codify with all the nonsense that Doge has exposed, the markets would take off. The economy, well, beyond the markets, because the markets ebb and flow, but the economy would take off for everybody. Listen to these stats as far as the Senate battles are concerned. So Democrats, again, they face a tough row ahead for taking or regaining control of the Senate in the midterms next year. They have to defend 3 open seats. Remember, Little Dick Durbin said that he was not going to run for re-election. So they've got 3 open seats, and they've got to achieve a net gain of 4 to overturn their 53-47 Republican majority. So essentially, you've got to win those 3 seats. You've got to win 4. I don't see them being able to do it. But this is why Chuck U. Schumer is in danger, because they need some enthusiasm. And I think people believe that AOC can bring them that level of enthusiasm. More on the other side. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Guys, just a reminder, please follow me, all things social media. I'm on X, Instagram, and Facebook at Carl Jackson Show. At the Carl Jackson Show is where you can go. Is where you can go to find me. Sorry, I'm looking at these stats. Is where you can go to find me. You always got to be working. That's the thing with this business. Even when you got stories, and I should have brought my glasses in because I can barely see the screen. Yeah, you're always working. You're always working. But anyway, find me on X, Instagram, and Facebook at Carl Jackson Show. Excuse me. At the Carl Jackson Show. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on the Salem Podcast Network, also YouTube and Rumble. If you're on YouTube and Rumble, if you would rate and review us, that would certainly help us out. We would certainly appreciate that. Por favor. All right. Let's get back to programming. And excuse me, because I feel like I've eaten something and I've gotten a little heartburn here. All right. All right, Gabe. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, follow me all things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook. We are talking about the Democrat revolt, but how the Democrat revolt is essentially keeping Republicans afloat. Because as long as the media, the mainstream media, and as long as there's this type of infighting that exists amongst Democrats, and I mean, this is a full-fledged revolt. They don't know what the heck to do. So this is a battle going on. It's going to be. There's not even a moderate wing of the Democrat Party that exists. I mean, Rahm Emanuel, he was told off on television or on a podcast the other day. You got James Carville, who is James Carville is probably an old school liberal. He's more of the Bill Clinton vein. But remember, Bill Clinton was what do you call that strategic method? Triangulated. He and Dick Morris, so he was a big time liberal, and they decided to run to the middle. They worked with Newt Gingrich. That caused Bill Clinton's numbers to soar. He worked with Newt Gingrich in Congress, and they both came up with a balanced budget at the time. So he moderated. Bill Clinton ran to the center. That's not what's happening in the Democrat Party today. There's a full lot. These people are not afraid to admit that they're socialists. Now they're frauds. Bernie Sanders is a fraud. I'll get into some of what we've been seeing with Bernie Sanders. That guy is a complete and utter fake. Why people still buy into that shtick, I'll never know. Because at one point in time, I think it was genuine back in the day when like Joe Rogan supported him and all that kind of good stuff. He is not the same Bernie Sanders that he was. He got a taste of money. He got a taste of success. He got a taste of people actually caring about what he had to say. And he's let it gone to his head. And he's become corrupt as all get out. He's been bought out by big pharma. He's flying on. He's doing his that oligarchy tour, Stop the Oligarchs, or whatever that stupid tour is called. And he's one of the biggest oligarchs out there, fighting oligarchy tour. What a moron. I mean, the guy's a complete and utter fraud. But we'll get to it. But this is the issue, right? This is the struggle. This is the battle. Is it going to be the Bernie Sanders AOC wing, the Jasmine Crockett wing of the Democrat Party? Is it going to be the Chuck Schumer wing of the Democrat Party? Inquiring minds want to know. Meanwhile, what Republicans should be doing while they're fighting, what Republicans should be doing while they're still talking about Garcia, the wife beater, the human trafficker, the MS-13 gang member, they should be getting crap done. These people should not be taking a break. We can yell and scream about the Democrat Party all day, and I love doing it, as a matter of fact. But we can't stop holding the Republican Party accountable. The moment that Trump won, they should have been, we're not going home. Thanksgiving, we're going to go home Thanksgiving Day. We're going to go home Christmas Day. We're going to get our butts back up here. We're going to get some stuff knocked out so we can make sure that this guy, we're going to get tax cuts permanent. When he walks in, he's going to be able to sign this stuff. I do not understand this. I do not understand this. For the life of me, rhinos will be rhinos. It's the craziest thing ever. I talked to you about the uphill battle the Democrats have in the Senate. Let me talk to you about some more on the voter dissatisfaction. They say the voter distraction, again, this is from the Free Beacon, is driven partly by what they see as congressional Democrats' weak response to the Trump administration. This is what's going to get Democrats in trouble. And this is what's going to ensure that Democrats are going to become even more radical. Guys, I don't think we've seen anything yet. Everybody's talking about, or a lot of people are talking about this state employee in Minnesota keyed Tesla's $20,000 worth of damage. Nothing happened to him because this woke social justice warrior that happens to be the district attorney, state's attorney, AG, whatever it is. I believe the state's attorney or district attorney out there in Minneapolis, she's not going to prosecute him. She put the guy in a diversionary program because this is what they want. This is who they are by any means necessary. So they think congressional Democrats believe that the response to Trump has been weak. The guy hasn't even been in office 100 days. The guy had a mandate. Don't tell me it was not a mandate. It was a mandate. When you win all of the swing states, when you win the Electoral College, when you win the popular vote, even despite the fact that they tried to kill you, despite all the lawfare against you, and you win in that type of fashion, that's a mandate, folks. That is a mandate. Do not let people tell you otherwise. That is a mandate. Kamala Harris had over $1 billion, upwards of $2 billion raised in a very short period of time. We couldn't even come close to that as conservatives or Republicans, and they lost big time. Horrible candidate she was. But part of it is they're just dissatisfied with the way the Democrats are fighting back against Trump. Polls from CNN and Data for Progress found that a large majority of Democrats want their leaders to take a tougher stand against Trump. Their frustration deepened after Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer helped advance a GOP-backed funding bill to avert a government shutdown. Now, Chuck Schumer has always says he doesn't want to shut down the government. He's always tried to pin that on the Republican Party, but it's a continuing resolution, meaning we're still under Biden's bill, right? Democrats are upset about that. You're talking about some low information voters. Now, which direction should the party take? Democrat voters are not sure about that as well. Some are sharply divided over the party's direction during Trump's second term. A recent Gallup poll shows that 45% want the party to shift toward the center. So 45% want the party to shift towards the center. That's actually better than what I heard before, because if I recall, I read a different poll a couple of weeks ago where that number of moderates was smaller. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm forgetting. 29% wanted to shift even further leftward. So you got 30% of crazies out there that says, no, the David Hoggs of the world, the AOCs of the world, they're not crazy enough. The Tim Walls, they're not crazy enough. 22% say it should stay the same. I don't even know what that means in disarray. Now, listen to these swing district stats. Here's the problem with the Democrat Party. This is what they're going to run into. This is why you can have AOC run. Some people are talking about beyond the Senate. Some people are talking about AOC for 2028. And I wouldn't put it past the Democrat Party if they can't find a champion. She's the most popular one in the Democrat Party right now. Nearly 70% of voters in swing districts see congressional Democrats as out of touch, prioritizing political correctness over real issues. Now, this is helpful to the Trump administration. It really is. It really is. Because I believe that more stuff should be getting done. Now, we are having some success. I think the economy is going to come roaring back. But right now, people are a little queasy when it comes to the tariffs. But Trump is wrapping that up. You've got you've got issues still dividing Democrats, anti-Semitism on college campuses. But you see voters see Trump fighting against that and these woke institutions that are anti-Semitic. You had a guy that I saw interviewed on Fox last night at Yale that was kept out of his class. He had to take give a, I think it was a final thesis or something like that. You had a bunch of a bunch of bullies, anti-Semites that didn't even let him go into his classroom or whatever that was, where he had to go take his exam or do whatever he had to do. I mean, just absolutely insane. These are areas, those 80-20 areas, and I believe those are 90-10 areas where Trump is winning, and that's a good thing. All right, when it comes to the issue of foreign policy, for the most part, I haven't looked at the polls on that today, so I don't want to misrepresent here. But I can tell you, when it comes to Iran, you've got a couple things going on with Iran. And listen, I know a lot of people got all hot and bothered about Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth, the Signal chat. He was caught up in that controversy. Remember, it wasn't him that shared the Signal chat or when that what do you call that? When that so-called journalist from the Atlantic ended up in the Signal chat, that was a major faux pas, but that was actually the fault of Tim Walz. Basically, when he was typing the chat, names pop up of people, people that are on his contact list, and somehow it was one of those things that automatically adds a person. He missed it, so this guy got lumped into that Signal chat. But apparently there was a Signal chat shared with Pete Hegseth's brother. Pete Hegseth's brother happens to work at the Department of Defense. No classified information was shared. His wife happens to be a confidant. And then you've got these people that he hired that apparently leaked and tried to stab him in the back. They're gone. But here's the bottom line: the Houthis are doing bad. We have this situation with Iran. You've got Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance that are a little more cautious. You've got the Hawks that are Walz and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So I'm sure they'll compromise somewhere in the middle. We've got to make sure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. And I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to stop Iran. If we don't stop Iran, then I think that Israel will stop Iran. Or actually, we should just leave it up to Israel to stop Iran. But these are the things that are happening, and people want to see this because people want strength. Trump is upset with Putin. Putin struck and killed some Ukrainians yesterday. Vladimir Putin doesn't seem to want to come to the table. Zelensky. It's been difficult to deal with him, according to Trump. But the bottom line is, you do have a commander in chief in the White House now that people feel confident that he is going to get these situations under control. But where people are queasy is the economy. And that's where I'm like, where's the Republican Party? It makes no sense that Trump is out there swinging on his own. This is crazy to me. Thank God for a chaotic Democratic Party. All right, we'll be back. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. Please follow me on X, Instagram, and Facebook. I realize some of you may be watching the NFL draft. Listen, actually, I'll get into this in the program shortly. I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated with the way college football is. I know a lot of people out there will disagree with me. I don't believe that college football players or college players, athletes should be paid. I think they've just messed up the system. You've got a semi-pro system now, and then you've got a pro system. And it's just absolutely stupid to me. These kids being able to transfer, like that Tennessee quarterback, leave his team stranded and all that kind of nonsense. I don't know. I don't like that at all. I just don't like that. Sorry, I'm looking at some. Let me make sure there's nothing breaking here. I do want to share this. Were we able to clean that one video up, Gabe? Pete Hexeth. Okay. All right. Let's get back to it, and then I'll get to the more into this dim revolt. My phone, and I don't have the best vision to do that, but Jackson Show, again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I am so thankful for the infighting, for the revolt that exists within the Democrat Party right now, because basically the media isn't paying attention to things that might injure, frankly, the Trump administration. All right, and the thing with Trump came back riding a wave of populism. He's a populist. And honestly, it's been great for him. But he is starting to see a slight decline when it comes to the economy and some of these poll numbers. And I suspect those numbers will come roaring back. But when people are feeling the pain, when people are feeling the pinch, this is why Scott Bessent is out there now, calming the markets, reassuring voters that there is going to be a little pain, but we are winning. We're starting to get there. And our biggest adversary is China. So we can work out all these deals, even if they take a little longer with these other nations. But we're going to work with China. Also, let me just share this news. A judge halts an anti-DEI push at Trump's education department. This is more of the same. So now you've got 3 federal judges issued rulings today blocking the administration's effort to shut down diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in schools, delivering what is considered a significant blow to one of President Trump's top campaign issues. Now, I don't think so. I know they believe they're issuing a blow. I think the Supreme Court of the United States, if I'm not mistaken, is going to take up. They're going to take up some of these judges that have been issuing these rulings to stop the Trump administration. I mean, how are these judges, district judges, how is it that they get to be the president of the United States? Nobody voted for them. These are things that people voted for. These district judges don't get to stop that. So the Supreme Court will need to step in. The Supreme Court will need to be clear and emphatic when it comes to these nationwide injunctions, these temporary restraining orders. We should not have federal district judges running the White House. That is not our that's not our Constitution. That's not the way that it is meant to be. DEI is racism, plain and simple. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Latino. I don't care if you're a person of color. That's honestly that term that is racist in my opinion. The only reason why the left and liberals say person of color, I wish Republicans and conservatives would stop saying it. More and more people say it, but the reason why they do it, it is intentionally trying to isolate whites. It is intentionally, it is you trying to make yourself feel superior to whites. That's racism. That is racism. DEI is racism. It's as simple as that. And this nonsense has got to stop. This has nothing to do. This is a bigger issue. This is a civil rights issue. And it has to stop. According to the Washington Times, 2 of the judges were Trump appointees. One was an Obama appointee. They reached their rulings for different reasons, but the result was essentially the same. The Education Department botched its attempt. Excuse me. I can't see here. The Education Department botched its attempt to pressure schools to stop teaching woke lessons. At issue was the department's Dear Colleague letter in February telling schools to stop offering instructions that pit races against one another, elevate one over another, or heap guilt on some races. I'm not even sure. I don't get it. This is just utter nonsense. If they're a Trump appointee, if they're an Obama appointee, I honestly, I simply don't get this. I simply don't get this. So anyway, that's the news that broke earlier in the show. That is not. This was never an issue. That is just not a good thing. President Trump to target Act Blue and presidential memorandum. Trump rejects a tax hike on the wealthy. All right, so this is what I mean. Now, this is the Wall Street Journal, and right now I've got to go to my laptop to be able to read this full article because it won't pull up on my phone, and I don't have my passcode to get in there. So Trump rejects millionaires' tax hike. So president's comments come as Republicans flirt with possibility of higher taxes on top incomes. This is what I mean about the Republican Party. This is why I'm so thankful for this Democrat civil war that's going on, because Republicans do stupid stuff like this. If Republicans were to pass a tax hike, they can kiss 2026 goodbye. You understand that, right? This is the dumbest. Remember George H.W. Bush, read my lips, no new taxes. These guys are idiots. I mean, this is crazy. All right, let me get to this. Let me see if I'm having a hard time. I got to be honest with you guys. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to print out this column that I wanted to print out, but I think this is important because what we're dealing with is the internal struggles that are happening within the Democrat Party. It's a civil war in the Democrat Party. It's going to be the Bernie Sanders faction or the AOC faction versus the Chuck Schumer faction. And right now, the Chuck Schumer faction are losing, and they're losing handily. And I think that's good, frankly, for the Republican Party if we don't pass tax hikes, but it's bad for America. So let me go through some of Joe Concha had a great article at the Washington Examiner. And I'm going to try my best to go through some of this, unfortunately. And I forgot to bring my glasses in, so that doesn't help as well. But he starts off that this were a boxing match. The teller to tape would read in the red corner, James Carville, former senior advisor to Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, LSU graduate, former Marine, born 1944, nicknamed the Ragin' Cajun. In the white corner, David Hogg, current Democratic National Committee Vice Chairman, Harvard graduate, social media. He didn't have the grades or the SAT scores to get into Harvard, but because he was an activist, somebody let him in. That's how he got into Harvard. He couldn't make it on his own, and you could tell. As far as rhetorical haymakers go, these two have been lobbing them at each other in recent days. The conflict, Carville believes Hogg is doing everything he can to fracture a Democratic Party still reeling from Trump's victory in November, while Hogg believes Carville represents an old and dated guard that needs much younger, more liberal blood. And I wish I had the video clips for you, but I don't see them on my cut sheet. But they've been going back and forth, throwing barbs at each other. And it's just crazy. I mean, David Hogg is a far left-wing radical. This guy wants college loans should be paid for. This is a guy that wants, abortion upon demand. You got this old school guy in Carville that believes the party needs to moderate. Carville is rightly and especially peeved at Hogg's plan. As a leader of the DNC, Hogg wants to raise $20 million for primary and defeat fellow Democrats. I'll talk to you about that before. That is crazy. That is crazy, because that's assuming that every district wants a David Hogg, wants an AOC. That's insane. He is a contemptible little twerp. That's what Carville said on News Nation. He says, the most insane thing I ever heard is the vice chair of the DNC is spending $20 million running against other Democrats. Aren't we supposed to run against Republicans? Is what Carville said, rhetorically asking CNN, what's his plan to deal with our 27% approval rating? That's my question to him. Carville believes in Hogg retorted in a separate interview on the same network. Carville, here's what Hogg says. Carville believes in a politics of being timid, of hiding. The 25-year-old continued, we can't simply just hide, as Carville repeatedly promoted, not to mention the fact that, frankly, he has not won an election since before I was born. Has David Hogg ever won an election? I mean, it's crazy. But see, these are the people that the Barack Obamas of the party created, that the Nancy Pelosi's of the party created, that the Chuck Schumers of the party created. They gave these people too much power, and now they can't tell them anything. These are participation trophy Democrats, and you can't tell them anything. You've been telling them they're too smart. You've been telling them that they're, that their crud doesn't stink, and they believed it. And now you can't tell them anything. And now they just want to kick you to the curb. And that's your fault, Democrats. That's your fault, Nancy Pelosi. That's your fault, Chuck Schumer. That's your fault, Hakeem Jeffries. This is what you guys, you reap what you sow, right? So you guys deserve David Hogg. I don't have time to get to you or talk to you about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the biggest hypocrite out there. This guy flies on private air travel. $220,000 he spent in the first quarter of this year on personal air travel, going to his Fighting the Oligarchy tour. This guy's a multimillionaire, 4 mansions. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And he even admitted that things got a little harder when he started making some money. Too much temptation. Anyway, I'll get into that at another time. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show. Until next time, do not grow weary doing good. And please find me on all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at The Carl Jackson Show. Until next time.